What's good, y'all? It's your boy Mixtape Moth. Please hit that like, please subscribe. All that is greatly appreciated as it helps to keep the channel growing. But today, I'm going to hit y'all with my thoughts on this new project from Dave East and Cruch Calhoun entitled 30 for 30. This is a new collab tape from Harlem native Dave East and New Jersey rapper Cruch Calhoun. Now, Dave East's output has been pretty consistent over the course of the last few years. Back in July of this year, he had released Fortune Favors the Bold. It was a project that had some high highs, but I haven't really felt the urge to revisit it much. Now, Cruch Calhoun is an artist who I was not really familiar with, to keep it a buck, but I did recall seeing his name on Dave East projects before, especially Hoffa. But the simple fact that they have worked together in the past makes it understandable that they would want to lock in for a project together. This new record, 30 for 30, it contains 14 songs lasting approximately 50 minutes in length. It boasts production from Buda Grandz, Chameleon, Mike and Keys, Forever Rolling, AraabMuzik, and a few producers who I was unfamiliar with. But with that being said, let me go ahead and just hit y'all with this track-by-track breakdown. The opener, 30 for 30, it's a banger right off the bat. It has these celebratory horns that feel like the soundtrack to winning a championship. You get a nice back and forth between the two Dave East raps. We was really in the field since Big White T's like 5X. Bullet almost hit me. I survived just because I sidestepped. So as a whole, it's a dope first song. This shows how well they gel together, and I dug the victorious instrumental. Track 2, Shouts to Me, has some chilly soul sample production that just seems really fitting for this time of year. This sounds like quality street New York hip hop. There is a hook from Cruch that feels a bit Tupac inspired. Lord, forgive me for my sins and protect me from my friends, cause I can handle all my enemies. But on this record, they are giving themselves their flowers. They're shouting out themselves for making it, but they're also bigging up the folks who held them down along the way, like Dave East name drops a lot of New York hoods that he spent time in, that molded him. Track 3, All I Need, mellows things out with a lush vocal sample courtesy of Mike and Keys. This one is groovy with a nice bounce, and the vocal sample just plays into the lyrics or the theme of the song. Dave East states, this shit been illmatic since they actually knew I knew Nas, and while Cruch comes through with some pretty decent wordplay. Track 4, My Section, it's essentially an anthem for the trenches that is set to some moody soul instrumentation. Cruch has some simple but clever lines. On my block, if you don't fit in, we ain't building. This ain't Tetris. My dudes get to drawing on anything that's looking sketchy. Altogether, it's a darker, for the hood kind of song that I did enjoy about as much as the second track, Shouts to Me. Next is How It Feel, which instrumentally takes on more of a chill G-Funk vibe. This one is another rags to riches tale, a theme that is pretty consistent in Dave East's music, although I do feel at times he tends to overdo that a bit. Although I did find the following line kind of witty. I'm Madison Square, pulled up to the garden with Nick. So as a whole, it was a solid and smooth track, but not as interesting for me as some of the other records. Track 6, has a soulful, sentimental beat from Forever Rolling that goes pretty hard. It could be looked at as another from nothing to something type of anthem, but I did enjoy it more than the previous track. Dave East is reflecting back to the days he was eating chicken wings and fried rice, while standing out on that cold corner with just $5 in his pocket. So as a whole, this was one of my favorites, from the instrumental, the vibe, to just the reflective lyrics. Afterwards is On Sight, which has an eerie drill beat from Buda Grandz, but this one was not very memorable to me because it had that formulaic drill sound. Sure, it was dark and gritty, but I doubt I'd return to it. Then there is the semi-conceptual song Terminator vs. Tookie, which channels some big West Coast vibe. We get an audio clip of Snoop saying, fuck the racist ass Arnold Schwarzenegger for presiding over the execution of Tookie Williams, the legendary co-founder of the Crips. And this is backed by some rainy day pianos and hi-hats, so there is that nocturnal West Coast feel to the production. They are essentially paying homage to Tookie Williams on the hook, but for their individual verses, they aren't really speaking much on him. That's why I said it was a semi-conceptual track. But overall, this was a solid song that definitely shows their strong affinity to West Coast gang culture. They do stay on this Southern California tip with the following song, Nipsey Voice, which obviously honors, Dave East's late friend, the legendary Neighborhood Nip. This also features Jay Stone, which is very fitting considering his kinship with Nipsey. And this is backed by a cloudy atmospheric beat and some wise words from Nip at the end of the record. Right after is If You Know, another high point on the album, which has some production from AraabMuzik. Now, AraabMuzik, in my opinion, is a producer who I feel Dave East needs to lock in with for a full-length project. This moody, ethereal soul sample just fits these two like a glove, as it has that dark, hypnotic, driving through the NYC streets late night feel. And they do get slightly personal on this track, as Dave East states pain will make you reevaluate. And then Cruch Calhoun talks about how his cousin inspires him to put more effort into his song. Immediately after is Like Me, a track about overcoming the struggle. It has some bright synths and pianos from both Mike and Keys and DJ Khalil. It is probably one of the crispiest instrumentals on the album, honestly. The subsequent song is Won't Apologize, featuring Liravelli, and it has a ghostly vocal harmony from Mike and Keys. It is somber, but it is another great instrumental in my opinion. There is an auto-tune hook from Liravelli that I didn't mind actually. And on this track, they are giving us some motivational lines. And Dave opens the track saying, every time I lost, I got inspired. The second and last song is For Mine, which has a gloomy, plucking beat. Cruch gives out more good advice, like, the wrong decisions will have you wrapped up with the wrong dudes. The right decisions will have you right where you belong. Then this project wraps up with Hood Day. Now this obviously samples Ice Cube's classic Today Was a Good Day. And they essentially use the same flow pattern from the original, yet they put their own spin on it, of course. Yeah, this has a cool, nostalgic, reflective quality to it that I can't hate on, and you really can't go wrong with this particular sample, even though we heard it many times. So overall, I'm gonna give this project a rating of a 3.5 to 4 mics. I'd say it's a very solid listen with minimal skips. It's a project that I feel will go under the radar for most because of all the bigger releases that have dropped recently. But it is definitely one to check out if you like street rap from East Coast artists who are lyrical enough. Like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't too up on Cruch Calhoun going into this project, but he is a pretty decent lyricist. He has some cool wordplay at times, and there is that authenticity to his street bars. And occasionally he says some insightful stuff. Now, the rags to riches narratives from these two might feel a little repetitive, but the production, it was consistently good throughout, which was a plus. And you can tell that both Dave East and Cruch have this strong affinity or this real connection to not only West Coast music, but California gang culture. And I feel this was evident from some of their production choices to the concept of Tookie Williams, the Nipsey references, and even just Crips being mentioned fairly often. So yeah. If you like an album that has a healthy balance between East Coast and West Coast sounds, give this a spin. My favorite tracks include 30 for 30, Shouts to Me, My Section, Yeah, I, Nipsey Voice, If You Know, For Mine, and Hood Day. But let me know your thoughts on this project in the comment section. It's your boy Mixtape Moth. I'm signing out. But as always, it's peace and blessings. Dave East, Cruch Calhoun, 30 for 30. One.